Welcome to the Magic on the Inside podcast by the Sisters Enchanted, where we chat magic, hot topics, personal development, and good old-fashioned life. Brew up something delicious and sit with us for a spell. Welcome to this episode of the Magic on the Inside podcast. I'm Sarah Waka, head magic maker here at the Sisters Enchanted, where it's our mission to make magic mainstream. And on today's episode of the podcast, I am talking with one of our own community members, Yvonne Miguez, about her life as an everyday witch, making everyday magic, conjuring up some magical tools, and sharing some stories around experiences and intuition that are amazing to listen to. So sit back and listen in as I chat with Yvonne.
Hey, Yvonne.
Hi, Sarah.
It's nice to chat with you today. Everybody who's watching or listening, Yvonne Miguez is here with us today as part of the Magic on the Inside podcast, where I have been chatting with everyday witches making everyday magic. Yvonne is one of our super active and kind and amazing community members. And, is brave enough to chat with us today about some everyday witchery. So, Yvonne, why don't you take a second and just introduce yourself? Let us know who you are, where you are, all that good stuff.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Yvonne, and I'm originally from San Juan, Puerto Rico. But we have been living, this year is going to be 10 years since we have been in Round Rock, Texas. So we're like half an hour north of Austin. And we really like it here. I have 3 kids, 2 boys, and a little miracle little lady that has been with us for 2.5 years. She's a handful, and she keeps us on our toes. And yeah, I work from home. My model job is I help a speech therapist with her with insurance, and then my helping people job, like my second son will say, is I do readings, and I basically work with crystals and candles. So that's a little bit about me.
I love it. I love that you're like, I got my muggle stuff and I got my magic stuff, and it's so cool that you're able to stay home. And
I'm very, very blessed. My boss is amazing. I've been with her for, it's gonna be 8 years working with her. Yes.
Nice.
And yeah, she's very flexible, and she'll even sometimes call me. She's like, I need you to come to the office because we need to check. Is there an energy or something here? So yeah, she's amazing. I love her. So yeah.
I love when some of our most magical people in our community have these like very muggle sort of jobs, like insurance, right? That's like the least magical thing you can get. But I think it's so cool that when somebody who has a more sort of enchanted view of life can enter a field like that, because I feel like you're just out there making the world a better place just by being you and doing these small, like everyday things, like just being kinder to people and maybe not freaking out like some other people.
It's funny that you say that, because I have a lot of patients that when I call to give them the benefits, they always say like, I don't know how you do it. You're always so happy. I'm a very positive person. I try to be always look on the bright side, even when things are going bad. I always try to focus on the how to be grateful and to really see the fruits of our, not the fruits of our labor, to see the blessings that we have, because we have a lot of them. And sometimes we get so focused on like the one thing that is not going on well in our lives. So I try to be very, very positive. So my boss sometimes is like, that's why I pay you, because I don't know how you do it. I'm like, well, sometimes you have to be kind to people. And I always, something as simple as, hi, thank you. Oh, how are you today? And people are like, oh, good, thank you. And sometimes they even are in shock because nowadays not a lot of people stop and say thank you or really ask you how you're doing. So
it's very true. Yeah, for sure. So, so what brought you like to living a more magical life? What was your introduction to sort of the witchy ways, or has it always kind of been there? Was there a moment or a thing? Tell me about that.
It was always there. I was a little kid. I was brought up in a very Catholic home. Um, and when I was little, it manifested in dreams. But every time I will say a dream, there was like, remember, we don't talk about those things. And a lot of deja vus when I was a little kid. There was a point in my life when the dreams became very vivid. And I had a dream about the brother of an ex-boyfriend of mine. I dreamt that he took his life. And the next day he did. So after that dream, I shut it down because it was very hard for me because I thought I could stop it, but that's, you cannot do anything about that. But so I stopped. I blocked myself. I didn't do anything. I was very scared of tarot cards because that's, they're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I want to say, 11 years ago, my husband had been applying for a job for a really long time, and things back home were very, very rough. At that time, I used to work at a telecommunication company, and I have a history degree. I studied European history, but but you can tell me, if it's hard work, I don't shy away from work. Whatever I need to do, to help my family out, I'll do it. I don't care. The more you know, the better. So the December before he got the phone call for us to move here, we had a very rough December. We didn't have money to pay our mortgage, and it was either buying Christmas gifts for the boys or nothing at all. And I have always loved to bake. I adore baking. And I had stopped baking for some time. So at the time, our next door neighbor, this lady, we have been living next to each other for 4 years, but we didn't talk a lot. And one day I just said, let's do a cake for her. It's Christmas. So I do a cake and I take it to her. And the next day she comes and she's like, oh my God, Yvonne, I am so sorry. This was so amazing. But I took my cake to my office, and she worked in a government building. So she said, she's like, I have 70 people that want to order a cake. And I'm like, what? And she's like, can you do it? I used to do catering because I'm a certified chef too. See, I've done everything.
You can make like European history cake.
Yeah. So I told her, she's like, well, give me 2 days and I'll bake them for you. So at the time, I had to, my day was wake up at 5, take the kids to daycare and to school, go to my muggle work at 7:30, have like a 15-minute break so I could get out at 4:30. So I got home and I started baking, and I only had one oven. So it was like 4 or 5 cakes at a time. My husband kept helping me like frosting with everything. I took them to the lady, and then 3 days later she comes and she's like, I have 30 more people that want more cakes. With that, I was able to pay my home that December. And before that, I had set an intention. I said, God, spirit, whatever is out there, if you could please, just help me out. And the neighbor later on told me that she had a dream about me, and that she dreamt that we didn't have any food in our pantry. So, and then I told her, it's like, well, thanks to you, I'm going to be able to pay my mortgage today. And then she's like, and I had another dream about you. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, at this time, but still very cautious because of how I was brought up. So she had a dream that we were our house was full of boxes. And she asked me, she's like, where are you going? And I told her, well, we're moving to the States. 3 days later, Sarah, we got the phone call that my husband got picked to move and to start working.
Oh.
They called him on a Sunday. He works for the government. They don't work on Sundays. You know what I'm saying? So he moved, and our journey started here. And it was always very, the sevens were always very, the number 7 was always, popping up. But the crystals really came into my life, I want to say 4 years ago. 4 years ago, a situation had happened with my dad back home. And I had this friend of mine, and I told her, like, I need to go and see him. And she's like, well, you should take a black tourmaline. And I'm like, what? What is that? And then she's like, black tourmaline is for protection. And I think you should take one, and take one for your dad. And I'm like, my super Catholic dad.
Yeah.
But I went and I bought my first piece of black tourmaline. And I cannot explain how that made me feel. It's not an addiction. I'm not going to say it's in it. Well, maybe. It depends on how you see it, But for me, it was a little unlocking,
I like that.
Little, my abilities started to show a little bit more. And I have to say also that my husband was always very supportive. I don't think I would be here or doing this without him, because he's the one that he's always like, he calls me his little witch, like, but he always tells me, and he likes to listen to my stories of, things that start popping up and happening. So I started with the crystals, and little by little, spirit just looked for ways of, like, putting me in the path. And then I want to say, like, 5 or 6 months after I started working with crystals, I had a friend of mine that I met here in Austin, and she invited me to a shamanic workshop. And I was like, well, I don't know. Like, well, the teacher works with shamanism, but she also works with angels. And I'm like, okay. And I went. Sarah, it was such an amazing experience. And after that, little by little, the things that have been presenting myself, in my life has been thanks to the work that I have been putting, but thanks to allowing myself to be open to receive it. Even with my daughter, with the boys, I got pregnant with the first one I was using the pill and it's like, boop, okay, apparently I'm gonna be a mommy. And with Ignacio, with the second one, we're like, oh, we should start trying. I was already pregnant with that one. It was like super. And with Valeria, the little one, we tried for almost 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
The doctor said no. They said that my husband had problems and I had problems, and I did a lot of healing. I did a lot of soul searching, a lot of in shamanism. There's this beautiful thing that it's called the soul retrieval.
Mm-hmm.
So my teacher did a soul retrieval for me. I have the recording. When you hear it, I don't remember half of the things. And when she did it turns out that I had an entity that was attached to me. But when you hear that recording and she was asking the entity about it, and the year that the entity said that he attached himself to me was a very hard year for me in my life. So, but I did some soul retrieval. I also work with a lot of self-doubt, a lot of soul contracts that I had in my previous lives. But I remember the first time that I went there, I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, what is this? There's a lot of hippie people here. And I was very judgmental at first. And I was like, yeah, it's impossible that you're like, oh yeah, I feel so. When I got my drum in my hand for the first time, we did this fire ceremony the first night, and the teacher had some drums there. I took that drum in my hand and I started beating, right?
Yeah,
sorry. I started beating the drum and it transformed me. I was another person. I cannot explain how I felt. I felt whole. I felt complete. And it was such a beautiful feeling. But then when I came back from it, I was like, my husband's like, so how did it go? I'm like, good. And he's like, why are you not sharing? I'm like, I don't want you to think I'm a weirdo more than what you think already of me.
Yeah.
Like, no, just let me know. And I'm like, well, we did a journey and I found my power animal and I found my birth animal. And he's like, okay. And then later, 2 days later, he comes home with one of my spirit guide animals in a little plush. And he's like, look, I don't know if it's like the one that you saw. It was exactly as the one that I saw.
And that is such a cute,
it was like
sweet thing.
But it was a lot of work. If I was very, very sick physically after I did that first workshop, to the point I kept asking my guides, I want to hear what you guys have to say to me. And as you can totally see, I'm a very vocal person. I talk a lot with my hands on all of that. And I kept asking and asking and asking. I ended up with a double ear infection on this ear and a single one here. But it lasted 4 months. It wouldn't go away. The doctors didn't understand how it was like that. And they're like, but but it was my body trying to detox and leave everything.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, it was super funny because I spoke with the other people that were in the workshop, everybody got something.
Yeah.
One had laryngitis. The teacher had problems with her bag, and every single one of us had something. And in retrospect, it was geared to what we needed to be working on. For me, it was you need to stop talking
And listen.
and listen.
Here.
Stop asking and hear.
Yeah.
And it's been, like that. I'm a firm believer in miracles. I think that miracles happen every day. I'm a living proof of that. I have a daughter that's a living proof of that. And I believe that they happen when you let go, when you don't have to control everything in your life, when you say, I'm going to trust. And that's so hard for us.
It's so hard. I think
So
that's the
hard.
hardest thing to do ever, is to just let go and trust. That's what makes us human, though, I
Exactly.
guess they got to get past that.
Yeah.
I love it. So tell me a little bit more about what you do with your candles and crystals and bracelets and readings. What's all that about?
I'm an Aries. That's my given sign. But my moon is a Cancer, so I'm a watery, fiery mess. I'm always crying. I feel everything, all the feels, like people say. Yeah. And my rising is a Gemini, so it's a very interesting one. I remember
I can see that in you. I see that Gemini rising for sure. And
I remember when you guys did the 3 days in December. Nick did a little bit of a reading of and he's like, wow, yours is interesting. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. So my magic is candles. I love candles. I love how to work with them. I love how you can interpret the flame, but also, like you said, I was watching when I encounter you guys. I was watching your your YouTube videos, and I have to say, you are amazing, because with that baby bump, and after you had your son, you kept, man, you are so committed. I'm like, how does he does that? Oh my God. He's awesome. Yeah, you are.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Oh my God. I know, because I have a little one too, and it's, but I love how, for example, if you're lighting a candle and you're setting an intention, if you see that, where I love to use the candles that the 7-day people, the one that people say 7-day, but I love how if you set your intention and you start lighting it, and all of a sudden you see that the whole thing turns black, just go ahead and, blow that thing off and get another candle. Look for another, maybe see the intention that you're setting. But for example, you see here, and my kids know, they're like, nope, we don't touch those, because those are mommy's candles for somebody. I'm like, very good. So I work a lot with candles, and I also love, I started taking your tarot classes, and those have helped me so much, because for me, tarot was something very foreign, and very, like, I thought it was like, ooh,
Yeah.
I still will not touch a Ouija board, and never will. And I'm like, yeah. But tarot is another thing. But I started seeing your classes, and it also it helped me get more ¿cuál es la palabra? See, I told you that was gonna happen.
It's okay.
It helped me get a little bit more get myself out of my comfort zone and stop questioning myself so much.
Yeah.
And having to go by the book. It helped me interpret more and really see the story, how you were saying. So the
Yeah.
way that I work with, I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
Oh, no, just, yeah, that's your intuition takes over, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I love that. And I love how you guys explain it, because it's a hard thing to learn and to really master, in my opinion. If you keep thinking that you're not doing it correct because it's not how how it says in the book, you know.
Yeah.
So, but what I do, I mostly work with crystals with my clients. So I will have a client reach out and say, I would like a reading, or I would like a bracelet. So the way that I work with the bracelets is, once you say you are willing to work with me and with your guides and mine, I will do a little meditation, trying to connect with your guides, my guides connecting with your guides. And based on what I receive is the crystal that I pick for you. And then I do a bracelet. But then after that, I will, when I send it to you, you will see a paper with what I picked up. And it's incredible how people later like, oh my God, how did you know this? I'm like, I didn't know if I should write that. But I've learned to just, if you receive it, you should say it.
Yeah, I like that. Should be a quote on like a sticker. If you receive it, you should say it. I like it.
Yeah. Ooh, like it.
You should put that on your
another T-shirt.
Yeah.
Maybe next time, like a long sleeve one for now. Oh. Because I haven't been able to wear my magic maker. So yeah, it's been, I really enjoy that. And I also charge the crystals. I use the new moon and the full moon. That's why sometimes they take a little bit longer. But because, if you want something to aid you, this is not going to solve your problems.
Yeah.
And I'm very persistent and vocal with that with my clients. I've had clients call me. I was like, oh, well, I can work helping you. I cannot work with another person, or I want this. Yeah, I don't do that. Yeah. I tell them, think of me as a flashlight. I'm pretty white, so think of me as a flashlight. I will help you, light the area that you want to work with. And then you can, sometimes we need another type of lighting to see things that are hidden that we haven't seen before. So that's me, the flashlight that will help you navigate a little.
You've got so many good sayings over there. So many little good tidbits.
Thank you. Let's start to write them down.
I know. Yeah. I like it. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. It sounds like you just have so much to share, and like have had so many awesome experiences yourself that really lend you to helping other people to kind of discover their own magic. And I think that that's so cool. And I love the stories that you shared. So we always do this in these little chats where I do this or that. So I'll give you two things. You got to pick the one you like the best.
Okay.
And we do we see down inside your soul. I'm just kidding.
Ooh. Ooh.
I know. I'll totally judge you based on your answer.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. All right. The first one, tacos or pizza?
Ooh, tacos.
I was like, I asked somebody from the UK that question recently, and she's like, we don't really have tacos here. And I was like,
no, and we have breakfast tacos here in Texas. So yeah, those are the best.
I love tacos, but I'm in Connecticut. So I'm always like, I need to go down south and have an authentic taco. I feel like it's probably
come visit me, and you need to come to Texas. You have a lot of Sisters Enchanted here. Maybe for 2020, we can, I will cook Puerto Rican food for you. I will do tacos. You name it.
I love food, so I'd be down. All right. Day or night?
Ooh, day.
Books or movies?
Books. 1,000% books.
Yeah. Pens or pencils?
There's nothing. Well, that one is a hard one.
I know. It is
Because
for
I
most
love
people.
the smell of a freshly sharpened pencil, but you have so many, you know, choices with pens. So
I know. It's a really hard
pens.
call. That's a hard
Final
question.
answer, pens.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Yep.
Yeah. Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Incense or essential oils?
Ooh. I I used to work with essential oils a little bit, but I'm not that much. I will have to say incense.
It's like a weird question because they're really two completely different things, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I just threw it in there. All right. And the last one for you, water or land?
Ooh, okay. Can I have like a forest with a little, like river, not river, but like a little pond, yeah, maybe that one.
Yvonne's making her own questions now.
Now that I'm away from the beach, I have to say water.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much I missed it
Mhm.
until we went back to Puerto Rico in September for my little sister's wedding. And we went to the beach. I haven't been to the beach in like 4 years. I started sobbing
Yeah.
bad. And my husband's like, okay, boys, let's give mommy a moment.
I know.
Like,
You don't realize like when you just have because I live on the water and I don't think anything about it, you know. I'm just like, oh yeah, I live by the water. So going to the beach for me isn't like a thing. Like I don't ever think about it. And then when I go visit, I have family that lives in the Midwest of the US, and when I go there and it's like I quickly notice how landlocked I am, and I don't think about it here. And when I shift places and I'm like there's like no exit. Like
you're like,
you are landlocked, and I notice it quickly. But like I know what you mean. You don't think about it. You know,
yeah,
when you're there. Yeah. So I get that. I hear you. So before I let you go, I'll ask you. I love to ask this question. If there's somebody listening to this or watching this today or whatever day, and they're feeling a little bit lost, not very magical, what's one piece of advice you have for that person to sort of bring some everyday magic to their life?
I'll have to say, think when you were praying and asking for what you have right now. Think about that time. Think of when you were when you were dreaming of having what you have right now. And it doesn't matter how bad the things are, you're going to remember that journey to where you are right now. For me, when I set intentions and when I ask for something, I don't start asking. I start saying thanks. I start being grateful for all the things that we have at the moment and that we have been able to achieve. I think that's because all you lose your life thinking of what you want and not, and when you get it, you're then looking for another thing.
Yes.
You need to stop and really see how far you have come. That would be my advice.
Love that. I don't think I've even thought of something like that recently, or just thinking like, remember the point where you were asking for what you have.
Yes.
And that is so, I love it. That's so, I'm going to be thinking about that for the rest of this day. Find myself, and I'll have to say, Sarah, no, think back. That's so cool. Thank you for that. Perfect last words for us. Well,
you.
Thank you, Yvonne. Anybody watching or listening, you can find Yvonne at the Little Lavender Corner on both Facebook and Instagram. So again, that's the Little Lavender Corner. It's Yvonne Miguez, and she is doing really cool stuff with her intuition and her guides and crystals and bracelets, and I love it. So be sure to check her out. And Yvonne, thank you so much for hanging with me today.
Thank you for the opportunity. You're amazing. And thank you so much for taking magic mainstream. Thank you so much for doing that.
Well, thank you. All right, Yvonne, I'll see you around in our Facebook groups.
Yes, bye.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks again to Yvonne for joining us on this episode of the Magic on the Inside podcast. I'm Sarah, and I look forward to seeing you around the Sisters Enchanted communities. Be sure to follow along all the magic that we're cooking up at thesistersenchanted.com. And until I get to see you again, have an enchanted rest of your day.